Good morning to all of my book-loving friends. I'm Mary, and you are watching Rocky Mountain Gardens. And here at my channel, we do a multitude of things. We do book recommendations, gardening, home decorating, crafts, you name it. And if those are some of the things that interest you, you might think about subscribing. Today, we are going to be going for a little journey with my little bookworm friend. Isn't he darling? For some book recommendations for this springtime, and also a time, when we're spending much of our time at home. And I wanted to let you know that there are some fabulous books out there that you may not have heard of and might want to enjoy reading during this time, and carry them on maybe even into the summer if you like. Now, I've got a little list here that I'm working with because our public library is closed, and if you've seen some of my other book recommendation videos, you know that being a librarian, I use the library. I actually don't own very many books because I love my library. And public libraries are a fantastic resource for us all, and of course, save money. You don't actually have to buy books and spend money on them, and also find a place to store them. But let's move on and get to our first title. This one is called The Winter Garden, and it is written by Kristin. Now, I love her as an author, and this to me is one of her very best books. Excuse me. It is the story of a family who have a mother, and they have, the family has two grown daughters, and their mother has been very cold and distant their entire lives, and they have never understood why. And this story takes place in both the present and in the past, because we find as we read about the siege at Leningrad during World War II and the horrors that this mother lived through. So it is a very interesting story historically, and it also, is a wrenching story about this family, but it does have a happy ending. And I'm trying to, offer to you this time books with happy endings. But I think you'll find it very interesting and a compelling story. Let's move on to story number 2. And as you see with the last book, I have actually my list of books, and I have graphics that I'm showing you the covers, which I will do during my description of each book, since I can't have the books in hand themselves. But anyway, you'll see this next book cover as well. And this one is an old classic called Jane Eyre, and it was written by Charlotte Bronte. This is a book that I never read in high school, and I always thought it would be kind of a dry story, but believe it or not, although this book was written in 1847 by Charlotte Bronte, so it's quite old, almost 200 years old. This story, it could have been written today. It is really an edgy story and a love story, and oh my gosh, it is just fantastic. It reads like a novel, as I said, that was written even today. So don't be afraid of it because it's an old classic. If you have never read it, you will find it to be one of the best stories you've ever read. So I highly recommend Jane Eyre. Book number 3 today is a true nonfiction book called Kisses from Katie. And it was written by Katie herself, Katie J. Davis. This is a story of an 18-year-old girl who was the president of her senior class and the homecoming queen, and she had a bright future of going to college and so on. And over her Christmas vacation, she went on a mission trip to Uganda. And there she fell in love with the people and the plight of the children, especially girls, and their inability to get an education. And it's just an incredible true story that tells us about how we can, it's very inspiring because it tells us how we can, like Katie did, do something dramatic in your life to make a difference to the less fortunate in the world. And honestly, it's just hard to believe that such a young girl went to Uganda, and then instead of going to college, she returned to do God's work there. And she's still there today. You have to read this book. It is so inspiring, like I said. I think you will find it to be amazing. So that's book number 3. Now for book number 4. This one is titled Cottage by the Sea, and it's written by Debbie Macomber. And, Debbie Macomber writes a lot of very fun, uplifting stories, and you have a guaranteed happy ending with Debbie Macomber. But she was inspired to write this book based on an actual incident that took place in Washington State a few years ago. I can't remember the exact location of it. I think it might have been around the Seattle area, but there were some homes that were built along a cliff and by the sea, and the cliff crumbled in, I think it was on Thanksgiving Day, or, well, at least it is in the story. And all these homes fell down into the sea, and many people died. And this story is about a young girl who's in her 20s who lost her whole family in this incident. Now, it's a fictionalized account of this real occurrence, but she writes a really wonderful story that is something, you really feel connected to the characters and wishing the best for them. And of course, guaranteed happy ending. But you might really enjoy this right now. Take your mind off your worries and read one of these good books. All right. Now, our 5th title is called Death Below Stairs, and it is written by Jennifer Ashley. Death Below Stairs is the first book in a mystery series by Jennifer Ashley, and it takes place during the Victorian times, and the main character is a cook in a large home mansion in London, and she gets involved kind of like in Murder, She Wrote, where I forgot the lady's name in that story or that TV show, but she's always there when there's a murder that happens. And in this story, this girl, Kat, she's a young woman actually, gets involved in solving murders. And so if you like a good murder mystery story, and this one's really fun since it's set in the Victorian era in this historical setting, it's just, to me, it's really fun. As a lover of mysteries, it's fun, it's good, it's not gory, just intriguing, with the mystery. And I highly recommend it. Definitely will take you to another world, and we can forget about what's happening in our world today by reading Death Below Stairs. And then on to our last title for today. Now, number 6 is called The Forgotten Garden, and it is written by Kate Morton. Now, Kate Morton has written quite a few books, but in my opinion, this is her very best one. It is quite a long book, and it takes place in 2 separate time periods that through the story they're interwoven and connect. Fascinating, because in this story, it begins with a young girl, 4 years old, I believe, who is on a ship that is going from England to Australia. And when it gets to Australia, this little girl gets off the ship by herself and is found at the end of the day by a man who works there in the port, who has no children, he and his wife. They find her, or he finds her, the husband, and she's sitting on her little suitcase there all by herself, and no one else is around. She can't explain really how she got there, and she has no family. And they adopt her, and you know, she becomes their real daughter that they love. And then this whole book is an unraveling of how she came to be in Australia all alone, a little 4-year-old. Fantastic. I think it is such a compelling mystery, and I think you'll just love it. Really fascinating. And you know, the sort of the juxtaposition of the story in Australia and in England, very, very fascinating. And so there's our 6 books, guys. I hope you can choose one and be very entertained with them. You might say to yourself, all right, Mary, now how am I going to get these books when I am confined to my home? Well, I have 2 solutions for you. Even though my public library is actually closed right now, and yours might be too, our libraries, I think almost every library these days, has what are called e-books. And you can get them in a print form that you can download to your Kindle, or if you have an iPad or another type of tablet, you can download the Kindle app to your tablet from your app store, and then use that Kindle app on your tablet or on your phone actually as well, if that's all you have. So you can download and get the Kindle app, and then download the Kindle version from your library for free and have it. And usually the checkout period these days is around 3 weeks. So that's what, you know, you would have to read that book. And by the way, they also have e-audio books for many of them, where you can download it maybe to your phone and just listen to it as you're doing other jobs around your house and so on, whatever you like. So those 2 versions, most of them are available from your public library. And secondly, now if you're a person who likes to have a book in hand, all of these books I checked are available on Amazon, and you can get many of them in paperback. And you know, Amazon is very good about delivering even now. In a couple of days, you can have one of these books in hand. And paperbacks, you know, can be very inexpensive, and you can also get used ones for an even less expensive price. So that's one thing. Amazon also, of course, you know, they make the Kindle, and so on these books, you can also instantly download the book onto your Kindle app and have it to read on a tablet or on your phone. So we're so fortunate these days to have these electronic capabilities, you know, to even get our favorite books right now without leaving our homes. So guys, go ahead and look into that. I think you'll be so pleased and happy to take yourself into a new world of experience in a book. You all take care, stay healthy, and I will see you again very, very soon. So long.